The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Mark Raymakers here with Insurance Agency Marketing Services. I want to thank you for taking time to join us here this morning. This is our Friday morning single premium live webinar. We do these every Friday morning at 10 a.m. and we've got a treat with us here today, John Enting, who is one of our top producers, not only on our life and our annuity side, but he's also a top producer with National Guardian Life. So who better to present this special, unique product to you today? And that is the National Guardian Life Trust Products. John, thanks for taking time out of the field to join us here this morning.
Hey, good morning, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, John is one of our producers, so he's taken time out of his day of scheduling appointments and seeing clients to present this to you. And obviously, he's a firm believer in the product. We are too. We've certainly seen our business skyrocket ever since John brought this to us. So we're going to go ahead and record this morning. We will email this over to you when we're done, so you'll have a chance to review it. Of course, the question box is open. If you have any questions, you can type those in there. So right off the bat here, what we're going to do is we're going to do our little infomercial, take just a few minutes and tell you a little bit about us, what we do for you, and then we'll go ahead and we'll get into the heart of the webinar this morning. So first off, our referred producer program is a big deal to us, just like referrals are to you, except for what we do is we pay you for the referral. And the way that is we pay you 20 basis points on every piece of business that your referral sends to us. Now, keep in mind that you are not in the commission business. You don't have to worry about being involved at all with a commission reduction or a sharing commission. Your referral still gets the same top level contract. They're not taking a cut. This is just our way of saying thank you for sending the referral over. So as an example, if you send 3 producers that write $1 million in annuities or $1 million in single premium life or trust business, that's $6,000 in cash for you, and that continues as long as your referral is writing business with us. Secondly, something I really appreciate, I wish I had this when I was in the field, but the marketing reimbursement, the way that works is when you write $100,000 in premium, now that would be single premium, that would be trust, that would be annuities, or $10,000 in target premium, we put $100 in a marketing reimbursement account for you. You can let that sit there and cook as long as you want. Some agents wait till the end of the year where they'll do a customer appreciation. Let's say you spend $5,000 on a customer appreciation event. You send us a receipt. We turn around and send you a check for $2,500. So if you look at it from a percentage standpoint, it's 50% of whatever your expenses are, we reimburse. A lot of our advisors use that to buy leads, pay for their seminars, pay for their mailing, whatever it is. So keep that in mind. That's in addition to your commission. Now, I do see some new names on here this morning, so this applies to you. Our new producer bonus works like this. There's a 3-tier approach. If you decide, let's say you write $100,000 and let's say this is for today's purposes for trust premium, you have a choice between a $750 cash bonus or a 2-year subscription to the website service. Now, this is something you can buy. A lot of agents want to just get this going right away instead of waiting. So we do have a group here. Our creative department can get your website up and running in one business day if you want to buy into that. Otherwise, you can earn it, or you could choose to go with the iPad. I know a lot of companies are going towards the electronic applications, so the iPads are pretty handy. Secondly, there's a 300,000 level. That's a Social Security program at 3,000 piece mailing. Very popular option. A lot of agents buy that because they want to get in front of more senior buyers. Of course, it requires you to learn Social Security, but it's a great way to get in front of more seniors. You might opt to just take the $2,000 marketing reimbursement. Or then there's the $1,500 gift card to use as you choose. Lastly, the 500,000 level. Maybe you've done some seminars in the past but have been ineffective or unsuccessful at that. These 2 gentlemen here that we've got, Matt Gill and Dave Pimper, do a phenomenal job in seminar selling. That's how they qualify for 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 different trips a year. They do a tremendous amount of production with us. So Matt's is a 5,000 piece mailing and seminar coaching. Dave's is a 4,000 piece mailing and seminar coaching. They both have a different style. If you attend our academy, which I'll talk about here in just a minute, this is an opportunity for you to see them do their thing. If you opt not to choose either one of those, then there's the Ritz-Carlton travel package, make your own vacation. We do provide, again, I say the best back office support in the business. We take you anywhere from A to Z, from submission to commission. We do the case design. We do the illustrations for you, whether it be a traditional life or an annuity. We are the experts in the product. We don't expect you to do that. You provide us the situation or the details on your prospect. We find you what's best and provide you everything that you need all the way to the end to get its commission. So what we do is we case manage that as well. So when you write the case, we scrub the apps, we order the exams, and then what we do is we keep an eye on that case for you, and we stay in touch with you each week, whether it's every 3 days, it might be even every day, depending on what we're waiting for, but you are constantly informed of what's happening with your case, and we certainly keep it simple for you. All right, so let's move on here to the creative side. This is something we're really proud of. We've got some folks in here, young, very knowledgeable, very aggressive, well-trained, well-educated, in the marketing end of the business. They do everything from your basic flyers, your postcards, your business cards, all the way to the social media. You can see everything in between there. Bottom line is, if you have not branded yourself, if you're not putting yourself out there on all of your marketing, all of your communication to your clients, or just basically if you're not doing any kind of advertising, this group of folks can help you get out there. And as I mentioned, they can get your website up and running in one business day. So there's a lot of great things that they can do for you, whether they are creating marketing pieces for you, so they'll customize it, or maybe what we can do is we can take pieces that we've designed and just put your information on there. So if you're not taking advantage of that, I certainly would encourage you to call our creative department and let them show you what they can do for you. Our website is www.imzinc.com. It is designed to keep you running, keep you in business when we are closed. Now, I'll tell you, you can call our office from 7:30 to 5:30, and you're going to get a person on the phone. And we do answer the phone within 3 rings. Of course, we're not open on the weekends, so if you're having a Saturday morning appointment or a Saturday afternoon or maybe even a late evening appointment, I used to run those myself, you can get on our website, you can pull the forms you need, you can get your contract, you can run illustrations. Everything you could possibly want to keep you running a business is out there on the website. Check it out. It's www.imzinc.com. Now, we do have a lot of advisors ask, how can I do a better job of making sure that I'm helping my clients to make sure that they're ready to retire? And we utilize the Retirement Analyzer program. Now, if you have trouble turning the computer off at the end of the day, which, believe me, I've had some agents tell me they just unplug it from the wall, this is not for you. This is a little bit more comprehensive. It does a phenomenal job, and you can see this is just an example of a couple of the charts that are available. I would certainly encourage you to call and ask for Marcus. He's the one that runs the Retirement Analyzer. He can give you some great information on that, let you take a sneak peek, and this may or may not be for you, but it's certainly worth taking a close look at. I'm going to put a quick poll out here real quick. I've got just 2 here this morning for you. This first one here is our IAMS Wealth Management. And all you need to do is just go ahead and mark yes. If you're interested, I'm going to explain this to you real quick. Obviously, with the introduction of the DOL and all that stuff that was going on and creating a big stake in the industry, we decided to get ahead of the curve and create our own RIA. That's our IAMS Wealth Management. So now what we do here is we can help you. In fact, John has recently, I shouldn't say recently, probably 6 months ago, I think, took his series exam, and now he is, I don't know if that poll, can you see that poll? Hopefully it's good. Okay, it's up there. So what we can do is, maybe you're interested in getting your series exam completed. We can help you with that. We can provide you the study material. We can provide you reimbursement for that. But what happens is it gives you an opportunity to offer another aspect of, I guess, planning, make obviously a commission issue for you by helping to manage money. It opens the door for so many different opportunities out there for you. But the important thing is the more lines of business you're doing with your clients, whether it's being through the insurance, the annuities, but now through managed money, you have a chance to lock your client in for life. And as far as that persistency, maintaining that relationship, it gets pretty solid. In fact, John was just telling me here this morning before we got on an opportunity that was presented to him because he has his series license. And John, you might even speak to that, how great it's been for you.
Oh, absolutely. It's opened up a lot of doors and conversations that I couldn't have before. So I know there's a lot of talk about the DOL rule going away, but I'd still encourage it to do it. It's a great way to bolster another revenue generating stream in your business.
Absolutely. So what I'm asking you is if you're interested in speaking with one of the folks over in our IAMS Wealth Management team, just mark yes. I'll have them give you a call. They'll answer any questions that you have about taking your exam. They'll even help you manage money without you completing an exam, and you can still get a commission for it. So We're also managing the money internally here, which allows you to keep that client, refer them over to us, let us help manage the money, but then you also get paid for it. And in addition to that, I can tell you that when you look at the different, the fee structures, the commission structures, no one's beating us from what I've seen and heard. So maybe you're not real happy with what's happened with your broker dealer. Maybe you feel like they kind of own you. Maybe you're feeling like you're leaving some commissions behind. It's certainly an opportunity to maybe compare. It's certainly worth it. And so just mark yes, and I'll have one of the folks give you a call here after the webinar this morning. Okay. Not a tremendous response, but you know what? If you change your mind, if you're thinking, maybe I should, just call us here, and one of those folks will be happy to help you. All right, let's move on here. One last poll this morning. We do a lot in training, and if you look at our webinar schedule, it's pretty full. We have webinars Monday through Friday, and okay, this one is up. Okay, so here's what we do. We've got these life and annuity training academies that we host, at least 3 a year. We've completed 2. We've got one more coming up here, probably going to be in the September time frame, August time frame. So it's coming up quickly. What we do is we pay for your airfare, your meals, and your lodging. So there's no out-of-pocket expense to you. We fly you in either to Omaha or Des Moines. Looks like our next one's probably going to be in Des Moines. But what we do is get you in on a Wednesday. We have dinner. We have a few short presentations, a full day of training on Thursday, half a day training on Friday, and get you home. But here's what we do. We bring speakers in from across the country, top producers in their field, and they talk about different sales concepts that have helped them to take them to the next level. For example, John is going to be there. Again, as I mentioned, he's a top producer with top 5 from annuity and life standpoint, does a tremendous amount of business. He'll be there to share some ideas with you. But the whole idea behind this training is to help you to grow your business on the life and the annuity side, or maybe cross over a little bit. Maybe you're just focusing exclusively on annuities and you want to incorporate life into your business. This is a great way to do that. So when you mark yes, what we'll do is we'll email you an application, we'll email you an agenda, and we'll keep you posted as when the dates are. Now, maybe this year isn't going to work for you. We put you on a list, and then we will email you as far as the dates on our next event. So just mark yes, and we'll reach out to you with the information that you need, and then get you on the attendee list here. So, okay, I'm going to close the poll. We're not getting a tremendous response out there, unfortunately. For those of you, if you're not getting free training, this is an opportunity for you to do that. And I can tell you that I've been here for 9 years, and I've never heard one person yet say it wasn't worth their time. Everybody that walks out of here comes out with some great ideas that has a positive impact on their business. So if you decide that you want to know more later on today or next week, just say, you know what, hey, I want to speak with somebody about the upcoming Life and Annuity Training Academy. Okay, real quick here, we do have our trips. Every year we've got a 18-month qualification. You can see it started January 1st, goes until June of next year. And basically the way we do this is based on a point system. We do 3 million points, which is based dollar for annuities. And then you can see on down the line, everything that you write for us will actually count towards the trip. So you might be doing life and annuity, maybe some long-term care, maybe some Medicare supplements. That's great. It all counts. Trip dates are August 25th through the 29th. We're going to go to the Ritz-Carlton, Naples, Florida next year. John is qualified for every trip as long as he's been here, so he can certainly speak to what a great time we do have on our trips. It's more like a family reunion, isn't it, John?
Absolutely.
But better.
Yes. Yeah, because your family's not there. Right.
Yeah. All right. So
I'm just kidding, obviously.
We love our family, don't we? Okay.
Absolutely.
So, all right. That concludes my part. So I'm going to go ahead and turn over to John. John, thanks again. I know you're very busy, and the floor is yours, buddy.
Well, I appreciate that, and good morning, everybody. First and foremost, while we're on this first slide here, I just want to point out to everybody that, I am a producing agent. I've been doing this since 1987, unbelievably. But I'm out in the field every day, so I'm doing the things that you're doing. I'm not coming from a home office perspective of just telling you about the product and what you should go do. I'm going to give it to you from actually the experience of being in the field and working with this product with clients. So today what we're going to do is there's going to be some things we'll cover with the funeral trust funding. We're going to talk about the opportunity that exists in the marketplace with this product. We'll talk about the trusts that are used to fund and hold the asset. talk about the product itself. I'll give you some presentation ideas. Then we'll talk about the company as well, National Guardian Life, and the value that they bring to the table in addition to the products that they offer. So first of all, we'll talk about the opportunity. This product was brought to me by a mentor of mine about 13 or 14 years ago, and I didn't know anything at all at that point about a funeral trust or an estate planning trust. But I did know one thing, that my mentor told me that if I did this right, I could add $40,000 to $50,000 to my bottom line in my business just by doing what I do on a daily basis. So when I heard that, that sounded like an opportunity for me. That was 13 or 14 years ago, and today the majority of our clients have a plan like this in place, and I've been able to share this with advisors and help them grow their business. So we all know that we're in the planning business. Obviously, if we're going to do something for a client, we got to figure out what that plan looks like. We've got to give them the options on how to complete it. We got to put the plan in place, and then obviously we have to find the money that we're going to use to be able to fund the plan. And funeral and final expenses aren't going to be any different. Someone is going to need to determine the services and pay the bill, and the question becomes who and when. So two choices there. It can either be the deceased prior to their death, or the survivors afterwards. Just a personal story about me. I'm the youngest of 5 children. My father and I weren't super close. My parents divorced when I was 2. So I never had conversations with my dad about, dying or what he wanted to happen. But on January 21st of 2011, I found myself sitting in a funeral director's office, and I was getting asked a bunch of questions about my dad that I didn't have answers to, like what was his mother's maiden name, what was his favorite flower, his favorite hymn, all the things that should have already been taken care of and decided on. I was now left to guess at that. And while I was disappointed that I was never able to have that conversation with my father, I did realize that all of these plans that we have done for our clients, how much easier it was going to make it on their family and their children when they passed away. So I'm a big proponent of having the deceased get their affairs in order prior to death, because I've been through the other side where it's left to the survivors afterwards, and that's not a whole lot of fun. So NGL offers a couple different choices. You can plan and pay for the funeral, which is what they call the pre-need side, where you go into a funeral home and decide, what casket you want and what services you want. Or you can do the other side of the fence, which is what we're talking about today, which is to pay for those anticipated expenses, and have that money set aside so that you have the money there and the plan in place to make sure that that funeral is seamless for your family. I just got back from, I sat on the advisor panel for National Guardian Life about 3 weeks ago in Madison, Wisconsin. And, some of these people that are doing what we do for a living, they have a lot of different ways to communicate how important this is with their clients. And I'm going to share a couple of those with you at the end of this that I think could help you do a better job of helping your clients with this. So how much does a traditional funeral cost? We always ask our clients that, because we ask them if something happened to them yesterday, how would their funeral be paid for today? And it's kind of an enlightening question that people don't ask usually. But if you listen carefully, you'll hear answers, and you'll be able to show them a better way to do it. And then all you have to do is just get their interest in learning more about it, and we'll show you with National Guardian Life how you can solve a lot of those problems. Here's the average funeral cost is about $14,858. I mean, and it's getting more expensive. We had a client who passed away here about a month ago, and it was a little over $16,000 for a funeral. So it is expensive. I'll talk to you a little bit too about cremation and how that's really taken hold in our country. so that if you run into somebody that says, hey, I'm just going to be cremated, it's not that much money, I'll show you how you can convince them otherwise and where they need to put more money away than what they think they probably need. So the opportunity is huge. In a national survey, 72% thought it was a good idea to pre-plan, but 64% had not taken any steps to do it. And I know your clients are no different because I'm working with the same people. And my opinion on this is the reason people do not go do it is they don't wake up on a beautiful day like today that we have here in Columbus, Ohio, and look at their spouse and say, hey, let's run down to the funeral home and pick out our caskets, because they know it needs to be done, but that motivation to go in and do it is a different story. So we all know this market is huge, and it's going to get bigger. By 2025, there's going to be almost twice as many seniors as there are today. If you're a young person on the call today and you're in this business, you should really be excited, because this business is full of opportunity, and this next 20 years, as these people are filing for their Social Security benefits, is going to open up a huge opportunity if you have your ducks in a row and you're positioned to take advantage of it. So the other thing that we need to consider is that 69% of all Americans older than 65 are going to need nursing care, and that average cost is $68,000 to $78,000 per year, and it's growing at a rate of about 4% a year, which tells us that down the road that cost is just going to keep climbing. And there are going to be many people who are going to need long-term care, and they're going to need to qualify for Medicaid, because 92% of all Americans have no type of long-term care protection. And so basically what happens at that point is you have to start spending down all of your assets in order to qualify for Medicaid. And so what we do is we have this conversation with the client and show them how using these two products with National Guardian Life will actually help them protect their money. And if they need to qualify for Medicaid, those dollars will be protected and go to their family at some point down the road. So how does all this fit together? Basically what we're doing is we're taking financial protection of life insurance and the advantages of an irrevocable funeral trust, and we're combining them. We're saying to the client, hey, let's put some money aside for the future for your final expenses. We're going to let the trust hold that money for you, and effectively we are spending that money down to where you won't have to worry if you have to qualify for Medicaid, that this will be an asset that's counted against you, or that you have to spend in order to qualify for Medicaid. So we're going to get it protected for you. So the trusts themselves, the benefits of planning with the irrevocable trust at NGL, we're going to get protection from creditors. The benefits are going to pay out 100% income tax free. The funds are available immediately. I'm going to cover with you how important that is here in a minute. The trusts are free. I do a lot of business with an elder law attorney who sends me clients, and he'll be willing to do a trust for you, you know, to protect assets, but the trust starts at $7,500. So bring a check in for $7,500 and you guys can talk all afternoon. The nice thing about National Guardian Life, these trusts are free. So everyone's going to qualify for it. They're going to use the death proceeds to pay for their funeral expenses and avoid those probate costs and delays. And the funds are totally portable. And here's why that's important. If you have a person you're dealing with whose kids take a job down in Florida and they want to be close to their kids and their grandkids, you know, and they've prepaid for a funeral home here in Columbus, Ohio, you know, that's a difficult situation where if you just fund it and have it available, you can use those funds at any funeral home in the United States. So you're not tying yourself into one place. This is a portable plan. So how do the trusts compare against traditional savings instruments? I'll let you kind of take a look here on your own a minute. But what I'm looking for is a yes in all the columns. And the only thing that's going to fit that criteria for you is going to be this irrevocable funeral trust. So it's going to cover everything that we're looking to cover for the client. So how's it work? That's what the advisors always ask me. So tell me more about how it works. And basically what happens is we are finding money to buy what we call an asset guard policy. It's basically a life insurance policy. And what the client's going to do, as an example, is in Ohio, we can put up to $15,000 in a funeral trust. So we're going to advise them to put the $15,000 in the funeral trust. We're going to protect that money day one. If they needed Medicaid the next week, that money cannot be counted against them or does not have to be spent in order to qualify for Medicaid. What we're going to do is we're going to find the money to fund that plan. Then we're going to assign the policy to the irrevocable funeral trust. Once it's in there, it does not come out until the person dies. And I will tell you, on this program, I tell every client we do this with, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, this is irrevocable. It does not come out until you die. The money is in there for your funeral expenses. So don't call me wanting to borrow money off of it. You can't cash it in. You know, there's nothing you can do. It's irrevocable. And in all the time I've done this, over a 13 or 14-year period, I've never had one client ever ask me to get money out of it or disappointed with the way that it works. So what's going to happen is that money's going to sit there and earn interest tax-free. And then when it pays out, it'll pay out first to the funeral home. So an example with the client that just passed away, she called me. She said, hey, my mom died. She's at the funeral home in Dayton, Ohio. We called the funeral home. We got their fax number. We called National Guardian Life. We gave them the name of the funeral home and the fax number. And then at that point, we're out of it. They deal directly with the funeral home. And within 48 hours, the funeral home had their money. Well, let me tell you why that's important. You cannot proceed with a funeral without paying for it first. In other words, they want their money before you even have the showing. With traditional life insurance, if you've had any dealings with that, typically you have to get claim paperwork, get a death certificate from the funeral home, meet with the client, file the claim. This can be a 4 to 5 week process. With National Guardian Life, that money is there immediately to the funeral home, and then any excess funds, if there are any left over, the funeral home does not keep that money. They actually pay it back to the estate of the insured so that all that money comes back to the family. So there's two different types of trust with National Guardian Life. There's the funeral expense trust. In Ohio, we can put up to $15,000 per spouse into this trust. I see there's a lot of people on the conference call today, so I'll show you all the different states here in a few minutes to see where you fall in line. But what it does is it gives that client the ability to exclude that asset in order to qualify for Medicaid immediately. So if you had a family you were dealing with and the husband was in the nursing home and the wife wasn't and she was paying the bills, she could actually buy a plan on her husband who was in the nursing home. You would never have to see him. You could write the deal on him and buy a plan on herself and get $30,000 protected immediately, because if they don't do that, they're going to have to spend it at the nursing home. So why not keep it and take care of things that need to be taken care of? And then again, that trust is going to pay the funeral cost and the excess funds will go to the estate of the insured. Now with the estate planning trust, you can put up to $100,000 into it, and you can do that per spouse. So this is where you can pick up a couple $100,000 deal on a house. The ability to exclude the assets in order to qualify for Medicaid. This trust has a 5-year look back period. So once they're through 5 years, if they would go into a nursing home, this money is 100% protected. And then the funds can be used to pay for funeral expenses first, but any excess funds are going to be returned to the beneficiary of the insured's estate. So it'll pay out to that beneficiary 100% tax-free. So the question I typically get from advisors, especially at the training academies that we do with insurance agency marketing services, is when do I use which trust? Well, the funeral expense trust is great for crisis planning. So I have the elder law attorney come over. He's like, hey, we're trying to get these people qualified for Medicaid. They're spending money rapidly at the nursing home. Can you do $15,000 on each spouse? Yeah, we can. We just protected 30 grand. So it's great for crisis planning. Maybe they're not in that Medicaid spend down yet, but they know within 5 years it's going to be very possible that they will be. Then it's a great time to put money into this and get it protected. And then sometimes, you know, I do a lot of seminars and I bring on new clients because I am running a financial service business here. And we always have this conversation. And a lot of times we'll have the client who says, you know what, I just want to put the money away and know it's protected, know it's going to grow and know it's going to be there and just forget about it. So it's great for that as well. Now on the estate planning trust, this is a great tool, and one of the questions you would ask a client is, do you have any money that you would like to know would be protected from a nursing home situation that you want to give to a beneficiary of your choice? And when you ask them that question, a lot of times that will get them thinking, and they'll say, well, yeah. So I'll give you an example. I have a couple teachers I work with. They have a great income. They're in great health. I did their plan 4.5 years ago, so they're just now 66. And we're almost through the 5 years, but we put $100,000 on each one of them into this estate planning trust. And so that money now, after about 6 more months from now, is 100% protected from a nursing home. If they have to spend all their other assets for care, they know this 200 grand plus interest is going to pay out 100% tax-free to their family and not be taken by the nursing home. So that's a great planning tool. Sometimes you'll get people who just want to transfer a limited amount of wealth to their children, or maybe they're involved with a charity and they want that money to go to a charity. Then you can help them get that accomplished as well, because you can have all the great intentions in the world of giving money to a charity, but if you get sick and go into a nursing home, that charity may well be the nursing home. So it's a great opportunity, and the real opportunity to pick up some big deals in this program. So we'll talk about the product itself. It's called the NGL Asset Guard, and it's a real simple product. Basically what it is, it's a single premium life policy. We're going to give them a fixed interest rate on the money, and then we're going to use that funeral trust to give them that protection of the asset. So some individual state limits here for you. If you take a look at this, again, in Ohio, you can see we could do up to $15,000 into that funeral trust and $100 into the estate planning trust. But let's go and take a look at, let's use Nebraska, since that's where IAMS is located at. So in Nebraska, you can only do $4,916 into a funeral trust. But if I were living in Nebraska and I wanted to use this program, I would say to the client, well, hey, we know a funeral's around 15 grand. So let's take advantage of the 4916 and get it protected immediately. But let's go ahead and take another 10,000, 15, 20, whatever that amount may be, and let's put it in the estate planning trust, because it'll serve the same purpose as for paying for your funeral. It's just with that amount, we have to get through the 5-year look back period. And when most clients you're dealing with, unless it's a Medicaid situation, at least on my side of things for 13 or 14 years, we've always gotten through that period. So, but at any rate, it's a great opportunity, and you can see that 100,000 is available everywhere. So even if you were in Florida and couldn't put any into the funeral trust, you could still do 15,000 into the estate planning trust and help them get their funeral money set aside. You can go through there. There's the expenses that it will cover. Now, here's why this is really important, and I learned this. I think I know a lot, and I'm pretty sure I do with this product. But when I sat on the advisory panel and I heard these other people from around the country, a couple things that they're doing now to bump up the face amounts in these programs is they're talking to the clients about things like, hey, do you have kids who live out of town that are going to need to come in for the funeral? Yeah. Is there anything special? Do you have any end of life celebration stuff that you would like to do or have done, and it's becoming popular now. You know, people are having these big parties after they pass away for their families. Well, that all costs money. And you can build this into this program, that extra money, to make sure that their wishes are fulfilled. So it's a good opportunity to have that conversation and push the face value up on those plans. So here's how it works. We're going to talk today about the single pay because that's the only thing we do in our practice. We don't do any multi-pays. We find the money to get it funded for them up front. Minimum face amount is $500. The maximum face amount is $100,000, and then you can give them growth rates up to 2.25%. And you know, those rates may go up in the future, but this is not about trying to grow the money as big as you can get it. It's about asset protection. So you need to keep that in mind when you're dealing with this product. There's only one health question. Everyone's going to qualify for the plan. You can write it from 0 to 99 years old. So obviously, the lower the age, the higher the commission, but the higher age, the lower the commission, and that's also good because if you write a 99-year-old, you could have a chargeback. So, you know, if they pass away in that first year. So there's only one health question. If your client answered it no, they get a standard issue policy. If they answer it yes, they still get the policy. It's a guaranteed issue policy. They can still both be put into the trust. So all single pay or immediate full death benefit. So if client put money in there today and a year from now they passed away, or 9 months from now, that money will be there for their family. And it couldn't be easier to do. 2 pieces of paper and you're done. I like to tell this story. I wrote my first annuity in 1993. I was in a small dry cleaner in Marion, Ohio. I presented the annuity. I was brand new to the annuity world, and I couldn't believe that the guy was going to let me walk out of his business with a $25,000 check. I couldn't believe it. But the one thing that was beautiful about it was the application was 3 pages, and the last page was a receipt. Now, if any of you are in the annuity business or you're writing life insurance business, you know now these applications are sometimes 30, 40 pages long. The beautiful thing about this program, it's literally 2 pieces of paper and you're done. You can write this application in 10 minutes with a client. So if you don't like paperwork, you're going to love this. Here's the top of the application. It's just going to be that basic information for the client. You're going to go down, you're going to pick the face amount and the premium that's going to be needed. You're going to go down and answer that health question where Mark's got the cursor at right now. It's going to be a yes or no question. So they're not going to be asking for, you know, explanations and medicines. It's just yes or no. You don't have to put a beneficiary down there if you're doing the funeral trust because it can be used at any funeral home. The bottom of the page looks like this. You're going to have the client sign off. You're going to sign off. Then the next page will be basically a receipt. So if you picked up cash with the app, you're going to fill that out and leave that with them. And then this is going to be the assignment form. There's a different one for the funeral trust and there's a different one for the estate planning trust. So just make sure you have the right one if you're going to do business with a client. But it's pretty simple. They're just going to sign it, that they understand that it's irrevocable and that they can use it at any funeral home. They're waiving their rights to surrender the policy. If you have someone like my elder law attorney will come over and say, hey, you know, we're trying to get these guys qualified in 2 weeks. It's a crisis situation. Usually what happens is 45 days after issue, they will put that policy into the irrevocable trust. But here you can sign off and say, hey, I'm rescinding my right to cancel. And so I want to make an immediate transfer, and you can sign off and get it put straight into the trust if you're in that crisis mode. So when you're presenting to clients, I always believe that whenever you're going to present something new, you should do it with clients that you currently have. So if you're new to this product, you haven't talked to your clients about it, If it were me, I would start off by doing it with clients on an annual review. And I'll tell you what's exciting about doing that with a client on an annual review is that you're going to get paid for the annual review. So if you go out and talk to them, my conversation would go like this if I was presenting to a current client of mine. I would just say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, would you agree that the advice I've given you in the past has worked out exactly the way that I told you it would? Well, they're good clients. They're going to tell you yes. Well, there's something that's come to my attention that we've overlooked, but we are implementing this with all of our clients, and we're going to talk to you about that tonight and figure out where we get the money to get this issue solved for you. The nice thing about that is these are people that like you, know you, trust you, have already done business with you, so it makes it easier on you if you're not super sharp yet on the product. If you make a mistake or you say something that maybe I don't want to say wrong, but misinformed statement, it's easy to retract it and still do business with the client. So when you're presenting this, you're going to present that stress of that stress the benefits of planning ahead, and it can be used with any funeral home. Let me tell you why that's important. You're going to hear this from people, so be ready. When you ask them, have you prepaid your funeral? They're going to tell you that no, but you know what? We're going to go down to the funeral home and talk to the guy. And at that point, that's when you want to say to them, well, you know, they did a national survey and 72% of the people thought it was a good idea, but 68% of them never got down to doing it. So Mr. and Mrs. Jones, why don't we set that money aside today and get it protected? And that at any point in the future, if you want to go down to your funeral home, you can show them that you have an NGL funeral trust. You can have them do a cost of goods and services for you, and we can have them attach that to your funeral trust with National Guardian Life. So if you never get around to going to the funeral home like you say you're going to do, you still have your affairs in order because you don't want to be caught without it. So the other thing we do is we do a lot of 1035 exchange existing life insurance. Now, I'm going to harp on this for a minute because I know that there's a ton of business out there that's not being written by agents using a 1035 exchange. And here's why I say that. Most of your clients do not understand if they own one of those old paid up life insurance policies that has $10,000 in cash value and maybe the death benefit is $12,000, they don't understand that when they die, they don't get both of those numbers. They get whichever number is bigger. So if I'm talking to a client and they have cash value in that life insurance policy, I'm going to say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, did you buy this to take care of your final expenses? Well, yeah, John, we did. Well, you've got $10,000 in cash and only $12,000 in death benefit. If you get sick and go in a nursing home, they're going to make you spend all the cash in there and you're going to have nothing. Doesn't it make more sense, since that's your money, to transfer that over with a 1035 exchange, protect those dollars now, and know that if you go into a nursing home, that money for your final expenses is protected and is going to be there for your family. You can do it with those, or you may run into these we just did one with a client that owned an old universal life policy. You know how those work. They were misquoted. Now it's blowing up. He had about $10,000 in cash value. The death benefit was about 50 grand, but he doesn't want to pay the premium anymore, and he understands he's going to lose that cash value. So he just decided, hey, 10,000's better than having nothing. So we're moving that money over into the funeral trust. And then your clients are going to have that peace of mind of knowing that they planned ahead and the funds are protected, because obviously, you know what, we get paid to close the sale. But I will also tell you, when you have a client who passes away and you get that phone call and you're able to know that that family is going to go in the funeral home within 48 hours, the money is there, and you've made it a very easy thing for their family, it's quite rewarding to know that. So where do you find the money? If you ask the right question, and we always ask clients, have you prepaid your funeral? It's a real simple question. If they say no, you'll hear answers like, well, no, but my daughter knows I have a CD over at the bank for $15,000 to be used for my funeral. Well, Mrs. Jones, that's awesome, but if you go in a nursing home, that is not protected money. Why don't we take the $15,000, get you a better interest rate than you're getting at on that CD, and have the money protected so it's guaranteed to be there when your family needs it the most. If you're a big annuity producer, if you didn't take trails on your annuities and you know that money's just laying there as dead money, why not use a penalty-free withdrawal and have them pay the tax on the money? Don't ever get caught up on taxes. A client will always say to you, well, gosh, do I have to pay taxes if I take it out of the annuity? Well, yeah, you absolutely do. You're in a partnership with the government on that deferred money, and so why don't we get it out now? At least till 2025, we're in a great tax situation with the new tax law change, and let's start moving some of that over to the side where it's not going to be counted against you if you go into a nursing home. So the money's out there. You just got to ask the question. And when I'm showing this to a client, I will say to a client, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you know what? In theory, we're really not even buying anything today. And if you think about it, we're not. We're just repositioning an asset so that the nursing home doesn't take it some point down the road. And that's a great statement to make with a client, because believe me, they're concerned with that nursing home. So here's the brochures. We're going to update this. They've changed them. They're still the same. They just changed the look of them. But the two we use are the Funeral Expense Trust and the Estate Planning Trust brochure. They're a little trifold that literally you could leave it with the client, and it's so layman's terms. As an example, I had a client I met with, had about $70,000 in cash value with Nationwide. I went through my whole presentation with them. They said, we want to think about it. You know, I don't care if someone wants to think about it, but whenever someone says that to me, whether it's an annuity or this plan, I always ask them, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? 10 being that you think this is a good idea. If they tell me it's an 8 or a 9, then what I say to them is, well, hey, while this is fresh on your mind, I want you to think about it too. I want you to read this brochure, and I'm going to call you back tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Well, with this particular client and the 70,000, the next morning at 9, my phone rang and she said, hey, we read back through the brochure. We want to move forward with this. Let's just get the appointment set up. So they're written well so a client can understand them and take action. So NGL's been around a long time. This is what they do. This is their niche market, and they're good at it. I will tell you, I've dealt with a lot of companies over my career, as you can imagine, doing this for 30 years. I have never one time ever in 13 or 14 years ever had a problem with anything with National Guardian Life, from customer service to paying a claim. So they have a great website. Once you're licensed with them, you can go on. It's mynglic.com. You can calculate premiums, order supplies. You can go on there and look at your commissions every day. They have great marketing tools. They have client-friendly PowerPoint presentations you can load right onto your iPad. They have them where you can send them to a client, so you can embed it in an email and have the client open it and see the presentation themselves. But it's a great website. Once you're licensed, I would really, really highly encourage you. Go in there, really look around. It's interesting stuff. You can order supplies. You can get your company names put on it. Just really, really good support system for the agents. So why sell the product? We showed you the stats on it. Everyone's thinking about it. It's a great income opportunity. The trusts are free. There's no fees. There's no other professionals advising your clients. We ask our clients, has anyone ever talked to you about this before? We've never had anybody say yes. We're the first ones that are talking to them about it. Those funds are going to be portable. They're backed by a great company. It's going to give your client that peace of mind. And my favorite thing is that 2 pieces of paper, and that's it. In the disclosure form and your state replacement form, you are done writing the application. So I like to use this example. If you just had two couples each month and you only wrote $10,000 on each one of them to do their planning, that's about $40,000 of income to your bottom line. Now, here's what's crazy. You're going to go out there, whatever you're doing to market right now and however you're running your business, whether you're selling annuities, Medicare supplements, it doesn't matter. But if you're going into these people you're meeting with and you are not asking them, have you prepaid your funeral? You are leaving 40,000 and up, because you can write as much as you want. You are leaving that on the table. That is revenue that you are just saying, you know what, I don't care if it comes into my business or not. So really keep that in mind and have this in your toolbox when you're talking with clients. So here's what the commission looks like. This is a growth rate of 2% for the client. This is simple interest calculated daily. But if you go over to that left side and we just go down to a 61 to 65-year-old, say you're out doing a review with this couple and you find that you can put $30,000 away for them, so $15,000 each. That's a 13% commission. That's getting paid $4,000 to do a review. And again, that lines up perfectly. If you did that 10 months out of the year, that's $40,000 to your bottom line. And even if they're sick and it's only 8.2%, I mean, we know what commission rates are on all other products out there today. 8.2 is still a pretty good commission. I don't care what you're writing. So NGL always does a lot of nice trips. Their 2019 trip is going to be in Jamaica. So still time to qualify. I do see a couple of agents through IAMS that are on that top leaderboard. So that's always fun to see. I wish them well. They keep doing what they're doing. They'll certainly be there. And on a trip like this, I always say to agents, you know, the way I built my business, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I learned early on from my mentor. He said, hey, when you make a sales conference, go enjoy yourself and have fun, but go mingle with those guys that are at the top, because all you have to do is pick their brain about what they're doing, and they're going to share it with you because they're excited to tell you how they get to where they're at, and then just take that and duplicate it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So when you do make these conferences, whether it's with NGL or you're part of this great IAMS family and you're on theirs, find those top guys. They'll spend the time with you and figure out what they're doing and duplicate it. So some of the biggest challenges with this, obviously, is getting comfortable with the concept. When I sold my first annuity in 1993 to that guy that owned the dry cleaner, I was so wet behind the ears, I didn't even, you know, I'm surprised he gave me a $25,000 check. You know, today, I don't know how much annuity premium we've written. I'm sure we're up around $300 million. And it's not because we're the smartest, it was repetition. I just learned every time I did it, I got better. I got more comfortable. I could pivot into different sales strategies to get the client to move forward. So I'm going to stress those benefits of pre-planning. I'm going to tell that story about my dad. I had an advisor ask me at the academy, he said, wow, John, I hate to hear that you went through that, but man, that would be a great story if it was my story to tell people. And I said, it can be your story. Just tell them you have a very good friend in this business and this is what happened to him and this is why you believe in this so much. And then keep it on top of your mind every client, every day. It's a simple question. Have you pre-planned your funeral?
Hey, John, we got a couple questions. You want to answer those real quick before we go on to the next section?
Sure.
Okay, so let's see. First question, when transferring money to this product, can we assume that is not subject to the state look-back period for qualifying for Medicaid spend-down?
If you are using the funeral trust, you can absolutely assume that. Yep, it'll be protected the day it goes in there.
Okay, that's the only one we have so far, so I'll go ahead and move on to the next part.
So just a little story about my company. I had a big case. It was about $500,000 that I had written an annuity premium on a widowed lady. And I got a phone call one day in my office, and the conversation was not good for me. She said, it was the daughter. She said, hey, John, I wanted to let you know Mom passed away. She thought a lot about you, and she would want you to know. And I said, well, that's awesome. And we chit-chatted a little bit. And I said, well, when you get through, you know, with the funeral and the grieving and everything, we need to get together because we have these annuities that we need to do something with. And she said, oh, John, that's awful nice of you, but don't worry about it. I already talked to the guy at the bank, and he said he could handle all of that for us. Well, to me, that was $500,000 that just went to the banker that I set up for him. And I determined that I wasn't going to let that happen to me again, or I was going to make every best effort to make sure it didn't. So I designed this guide for beneficiaries. And we'll walk through it just a second here. And once you become licensed with National Guardian Life through IAMS, you'll have access to this where you can put your company information in it. But what we used it for is we went out and we collected all up-to-date data on our clients. So we went out, we said, hey, we've got this beneficiary guide for you. We've got to update all of your assets. And what we found is, even though we thought clients told us everything, we found out quickly that clients don't tell you everything, because what happened was we ended up over a 6-month period picking up an additional 1.5 million of annuity premium, about 200,000 of single premium life, and about 150,000 of National Guardian business. And so we looked at this and we said, wow, this is awesome. So we're going to practice this and we're going to make sure it's perfect. So this is what the guide looks like. If you go into one of our homes, you will see this with our clients' documents. And I wanted to make sure that when somebody passed away, that this was in their stuff, and they're basically telling their beneficiaries, hey, for help settling my estate, please call my advisor at Enting Financial Services. And then we make sure that we get those calls. We get one of those calls, and this is only because I'm getting old and have been doing this so long, but we get one of these calls probably at least once a quarter, sometimes one every other month, and it's great because now we're continuing to work with the money instead of the banker guy. So inside the guide for beneficiaries, we have a welcome letter that I've written to my clients. It just basically says how appreciative we are to work with them, and that I'm giving them my personal guarantee that their beneficiaries are going to be satisfied with the job that we do for them. So we also have in there this confidential personal and financial organizer for their estate. And basically all we're doing, we're just going back through and we are updating all of our records. We're getting all the kids' information. And let me tell you where that'll serve well for us. These kids are now, with a lot of the clients we have, these kids are getting ready to retire some of their children. And so now we're able to market to them that, hey, you know, we helped your parents when they went into retirement. Of course, their parents are endorsing us because, you know, they're our clients and they believe in what we do for them. So if you go on the next page of the organizer here, Mark, you'll see that if we go to question 8 on the right-hand side, it says, have you prepaid for your funeral? It's a simple question. Now, we don't stop right there and launch into a sales presentation, but you believe me, if they say no, then we're going to circle the wagons. If they say yes, then we're going to say, well, do you have any money that you would like to know is protected in the case you go into a funeral home, and we'll go to the person that you want it to go to. And so then we'll make that note on there, and we'll circle back around with the estate planning trust to protect more than 15,000. So again, this is just going to be the rest of the information on there. It's good too because we've updated all of our files. And then what we do with this organizer is we tell the client, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we're going to put this organizer with your beneficiary guide. If we had never met you before and we walked into your house and we picked this up, we could help settle your estate without even knowing you, because it has all the details of what your family's going to need to know and what they're going to need to do as beneficiaries. So that's the questions part, Mark.
And the question box is looking pretty open and empty right now. So if you have anything that comes to mind, let's go ahead and ask John while we have him here today. And of course, you know, we've been doing this for quite a while, John, and, you know, I'm always available. Anyone in life marketing can help with that. So maybe make a note of that. if you're thinking about over the weekend. I always like to think, we talk about doing reviews, and if you're not, only 51% of advisors in this business actually do reviews. So this is an opportunity for you to do something that some of your peers are not doing. And I always say, grab your first 10 files, look through them, and see if there's an opportunity there, and then give us a call on Monday. We'd be happy to help you with this particular product or anything, any single premium, traditional life, or annuity. But for now, we got John on the phone here, and let's see if we can present any questions that come to mind. So, something we probably need. Go ahead, John.
Well, Mark, I was just going to say, if there's no questions today, that's fine. I know your team will reach out to everybody. And if you have a question, they'll certainly help you with it. I'm going to say this to you in closing. This business is all about having an open mind. You ask your clients to do that. How many times you sat down with a client and said, hey, before I talk to you about this, just have an open mind while we talk. That's what I tell advisors. I understand this isn't a $200,000 annuity you're selling, but it is important to the families you're helping, and you will get paid well for helping others get what they need. And that's really the essence of this business, if you think about it.
Absolutely. So anyhow, John had mentioned that we would contact you, and so that's what we'll do is I will give you a call here today. And the plan is that we'll get this set up on a YouTube channel. We'll email it over to you. And I just put a quick poll if you want to get in contact with NGL. All you got to do is mark yes, and I'll go ahead and make sure to include the contract in the email that I send over with the recording. And then, of course, like I said, John, I've been doing this for a long time, and I can address questions that you have as well. Terry is asking, is there a max to put into the product? If you want to address that again real quick, John.
Yeah, so typically, Terry, it's up to 100,000 combination between the two contracts per person. So if you did a funeral trust for somebody and you put 15 in, you could put another 85 into the estate planning trust to get that combination of 100. I will also tell you, if you run across a special situation and maybe there's 110 or $115,000 that you're talking about, that's a good conversation to have, that we might be able to get that done for you. Go a little bit over and above, but they like to see it around that 100.
Yeah. One thing I was going to say real quick too is that there's situations where maybe you have somebody who is not in good health. We talked about the guarantee issue aspect of it, but keep in mind, if those clients have those UL policies that are in trouble, maybe they're going to lapse in the next 5 years. They can be guaranteed to roll that money into this and protect those assets, as John mentioned. But there's quite a few of those ULs that are in trouble, and there's quite a few seniors that are not insurable. So this is a great solution for them as well to protect that policy that's in trouble, that's requiring tremendous increase in premiums to keep the policy in force. So something to think about. Okay, another question here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, Jerry, I will call you after the webinar, so I appreciate that. John, looks like our question box is empty, so I'm going to go ahead and get everybody the recording as well as the contracts for those that are interested. And again, John, I know you're busy. I certainly appreciate you taking time to help us with this presentation this morning.
I appreciate you having me. I hope everyone out there has a great weekend and lots of success. And if you have any questions, reach out to Marky. Those guys are really good at what they do.
All right. All of you have a great weekend. Thanks again. We'll be in touch with you here shortly. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep. Thanks.